When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals can lead their careers with LinkedIn. Discover jobs by specialty, preferred shifts, and even desired salary. From mental health therapists to radiology technicians, it's now faster and easier for healthcare professionals to find the right fit. Learn more at linkedin.com/healthcare. Side effects may include faster job placement, improved work-life balance, and increased career satisfaction.
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
Welcome back to the Infinite Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Jeremy, and today we're going to start a new era of the podcast. Yay, claps. Everybody claps. Thank you, Jacob. I am with my buddy Jake today. And just Jake. Just Jake, how's it going?
I'm just jaking around. It's cold out, bro. I haven't done anything all weekend. It is so freaking cold out. It was -10 this morning, and then it got up to a high of 8?
Oh, I don't think it got that high.
And then Tuesday is supposed to be 40 degrees. It's gonna be crazy. Right? Yeah. It was, man. There was deer all over the place yesterday, and we're in antlerless season for rifle, and I was like, nope, not gonna do it. I'm not gonna be out there in the zeros cleaning a deer. No.
Well, we're going to be Jeffless for a little while. Jeff recently moved, and he's got to get some internets so he can come talk to us. So no Jeffrey for a little while. That's it. He told me to tell everybody that, but the truth is that he just doesn't care anymore, and he gave up, he quit, and he quit on not just us, but you too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep. So let's sound off with Boo Jeff's in the chat.
Boo Jeff, boo this man.
Boo this man. So got some explaining to do. So we didn't record last week, and we didn't put out a new episode last week. Instead, I took the 250th episode and I released an old Patreon exclusive. In fact, the first Patreon exclusive, the John Teeter special, is about almost 2 hours worth of hard facts on everyone's favorite time traveler, John Teeter. My favorite way of doing it, through documentary series. Not much else to say about that. But we could talk a little bit about why we weren't here. And that has to deal with more or less changes in life. So 250 episodes in, and things get stale. Let's just be honest. From this point of view, I've been doing this for 5 years straight, and sometimes it sucks. I love doing it, but sometimes it sucks. And I need to change it up, or else I'm going to go freaking crazy. So that's what I did. And I found a way to format this show where I can do what I originally wanted to do. The love that I had for the documenting the strange and the unknown, but also stick with the really cool interviews that we've been been good enough to get lately. So we're going to try out this new format tonight. It's going to be kind of a test run, see how it goes. But the gist is I am researching for a lot of stuff. One of those stuffs is my book that I'm writing on Elmwood. So I've been diving into a lot of UFO stuff, and every week my research changes. I've been writing this book for over a year and a half now, and my attention span doesn't stay on one subject very long. So that's what I'm going to do with Infinite Rabbit Hole. For the episodes where we don't have an interview going, we're going to dive into whatever it was that I got caught up researching that week. Simple as that. That's the new format. But it comes with a nice, beautiful script that I take 15 minutes out of my day every Sunday to put together, type up real quick, and present it to you guys. Jake doesn't have to do anything except for talk crap about the topics, and he's happy. Jeff doesn't have to do anything because he literally doesn't research. He just, is Jeff. But you get to kind of enjoy some of the stuff that I've been going down, where my thought processes are, and the rabbit holes that I've been getting stuck in, which is basically why the Infinite Rabbit Hole is the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Because I have a horrible issue with sticking on one topic, and it does not only affect the show. If you guys have been listening to us at all in the last 5 years, you'll know that I'm not very good at sticking to one topic. And just expand that to include the entirety of a week, a month, and a year. There's a lot of stuff that I lose track of what I'm supposed to be doing and get caught researching. So we're going to dive into a little bit more of my world and what I'm thinking about as of right now. Jake, ready to talk about UFOs, bud?
Yes.
So enthusiastic. I love it. All right.
Yes.
So I have 3 things that I've been researching this week that I want to bring to your guys' attention. And I get to try out my new scripting. So bear with me. So here we go. Section 1. The political reality of UFOs. The biggest Fortean story of the month is not an incident, but a piece of legislation that solidifies the UAP phenomenon as an ongoing national security concern. We are talking about the fiscal year 2026 National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA. The final conferenced text of this massive defensive bill was released on December 7th, 2025, and it passed the House on December 10th. Within the legislation are powerful provisions forcing transparency from the military regarding UAPs. Specifically, Congress is now directing the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, to provide detailed, expanded briefings. This is not a general request. The mandate targets UAP intercepts conducted by U.S. Northern Command and NORAD, the 2 commands responsible for defending North American airspace. AARO must report the number, precise location, and nature of these intercepts. The most critical detail for Fortean researchers is the retrospective clause. This required report must include all unreported intercepts dating back to January 1st, 2004. This means the military is officially acknowledging that they have been tracking and accumulating data on unknown aerial incursions for 2 decades. The narrative has officially shifted from if UAPs exist to what our defense forces are intercepting and why Congress is now forcing the issue. What do you think, Jake?
I think it's all BS.
Well, yeah, I knew you thought that. But tell me what you really think.
Well, what I really think. Oh, well, then obviously aliens are real. I mean, come on.
Well, not necessarily just aliens, right? I mean, we talked about all kinds of stuff on this show about UFOs. And one thing that I was debating on diving into, because it was probably the newest thing that I've been researching, and it was within the last 48 hours, is this new report that's been coming out It's been kind of sneaking around, and it really just verifies John Keel's research from the book Operation Trojan Horse, where he talked about this strange detail where not only are we seeing UFOs in the skies over, populated areas, but they also tend to pay attention to political boundaries and days of the week. So for those of you that aren't familiar with John Keel's work in the book Operation Trojan Horse, he discussed a finding, and I forget the number of sightings that he used for the pool, but basically he found that Wednesdays were the most popular days for UFOs to be spotted, and they also tended to come out mostly in spring and summer. They also would have this strange coincidence where they would either start acting differently, they'd move quicker once they moved across, or they just would stop and suddenly go the other way once they hit a border of a country or state. So this was back in, I think Operation Trojan Horse was actually rewritten. The original book was called Why UFOs, and then it was rewritten into Operation Trojan Horse. And I think Why UFOs is probably in the 60s or 70s. So now that we're getting research coming out saying something very similar to what John Keel was putting out way back then, I think it's very interesting. But the question is, are they using that for some sort of narrative building? And I know Jeff would probably usually have a comment on that, but I think it's a good question to ask, because now we're seeing a similar strange concept that we see a lot of times in movies, right? Where we're kind of being told the narrative beforehand, and then something happens, i.e. the train explosion in Pennsylvania a few years ago. There was literally a movie on Netflix about it in the exact same town. So what do you think, Jake?
I think that it's all narrative building. To what end, I don't know. But my opinion isn't going to change. Despite the amount of times we talk about this sort of topic, my opinions aren't going to change quite dramatically as saying suddenly, okay, well, UFOs are real and so are aliens and all this sort of stuff. I think the whole thing is just, it's narrative building.
Yeah.
That to what end remains to be seen. But I'm not surprised that Congress is like appealing to find out the truth about the aliens, because, who would give those people information? It's like, it's on a need to know basis. And I would imagine that most of those people, probably 99% of those people, are not in a need to know sort of, capacity. They don't need to know all of the tech that the military has. They don't need to know all of the different, capabilities that the black budget projects have. They don't need to know, what Lockheed has and what Northrop Grumman has and what, all these companies have. So it would make sense that they don't know, anything.
So if you're watching right now, I'm just kind of showing you guys one website that is posting information about this specific UAP addition to the NDAA, which was posted on December 12th. So just 2 days ago on Friday, at least from this source, it was posted publicly. I believe the actual decision was pushed through on December 10th, which would have made it Wednesday. So just wanted to share that with you guys. With that, I bring 4 questions to the table. I'm just going to read them all off. And then, Jake, if you have anything you want to talk about from them, we'll just discuss it real quick. First one is, if this phenomenon wasn't a threat, why does Congress need to see 2 decades worth of military intercept data right now? 2, are we forcing the military to admit they have no defense for objects operating outside known physics? 3, Is this congressional pressure a sign that the political will for disclosure is finally outrunning the military's desire for secrecy? And 4, does this indicate an escalating pattern of intrusion that has finally become too frequent to ignore?
Answer to number 1, because people are calling their congressmen and women and annoying the heck out of them. And unless they get answers, they're going to keep calling them, keep emailing them, keep sending them letters. I mean, shoot, you could find out where your congressional representative lives and show up at their house. And, granted, you probably have to deal with a security team, but you could, drop a letter right on their front porch that says, tell me about the aliens, and do it every single day, multiple times a day for months and months and months. And eventually you're going to get a response, whether that's a piss off or a fine. I'll ask about it. Now, broadcast that out to, all the people that want to know across every single state, just dumping letters in mailboxes and stuff. I mean, you're going to get a response. You can only back up the congressional representative's secretary's phone so much with, voicemail saying, I want to know about the aliens before they finally say, okay, fine. I have to clear the memory on my device every single day because of the amount of messages I get. I mean, it's just like if a bill was going to be passed and you didn't want it to be passed or whatever, like all these people around here that are like no data center and stuff. You think those people aren't blowing up their, who's the guy over here? He's bald. Anyway.
The mayor. Yeah.
But you think that here they're not blowing up his phone saying no data center and stuff like that, whether he can or cannot do anything about it, right? It's just like, stuff gets done, right? They're a voice of the people. So that's number 1, as far as I'm concerned. What was number 2?
Number 2, are we forcing the military to admit they have no defense for objects operating outside known physics?
I mean, obviously. I mean, any of our current weapon systems, I mean, like a Hellfire missile is amazing, but could it blow up something that's going supersonic speeds? Probably not. It only has so much capability, right?
So let's clear the air here. Let me ask you a question, but let me get your official standing. I know you think a lot of this is BS, right? Simple questions. Do you think there's unknown objects in the sky?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe that they're physical?
Some.
So with that answer, then there's multiple types of things in the sky.
Yeah. Well, there's multiple types of different aircraft in the sky too.
Yeah.
For different usages.
Specifically about UAP, right? Unidentified aerial phenomena. You still believe that there's multiple types of these aerial mysteries?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Do you believe that they all have the same source? Different sources? I'm guessing, being that you're a veteran, you would think that some of it is top secret technology, human technology. What do you think? Give me a short list of what you could think the possibilities of some of this other stuff being.
Misidentification, black budget programs, spiritual beings wrapped around like a deception. I would say 0% chance in my brain that anything comes from off planet. I guess you could say like, oh, a different spiritual plane is technically off planet. Yeah, okay, sure. But like aliens, as we understand aliens to be like from a different galaxy or something like that, no.
Yeah, extraterrestrials.
I would say no to that because, you got to look at human history in any... Now, I'm not saying that they would be exactly like us in their reasoning and thought process and things like that, but in any single situation, very rarely, except for like maybe now, people are like, oh, we can take aerial pictures of the tribes in Papua New Guinea, right, type stuff, but we don't want to bother them. We'll just take pictures of them. Someone's landed there on a boat, right, and they killed them, type stuff. Like, it happens every once in a while.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's always been like, you aren't in the same ballpark as us militarily. Say, like, I don't know, people like to throw this around. We just had Thanksgiving. The colonial, sailors coming across to North America and finding tribes of Indians that hadn't even invented a wheel or written language in the thousands of years they occupied this area. Didn't take long for that to, see its course out. And that's been the routine for any civilization on this planet. I mean, shoot, why do we keep dogs and cats? Because they're a lower life form and we think it's cute. I mean, sure, they perform a duty to us, but wouldn't that also be the same thing if like a higher life form was able to master interstellar travel, get through the radiation belt? I doubt they would just be like flying around and be like, let's turn off the buttons on these, nuclear launch facilities, or let's turn off the power button, or let's just, visit some people in a cornfield. I think they would be a lot more aggressive than that. Or even the stories where people were like, oh gosh, they told me that we were so close to like humanity's demise and they wanted to interfere to keep us from destroying each other, right? I haven't seen evidence of that happening. Because we're still in conflict constantly. Yeah. There's still civil war going on constantly in some parts of the world. Somewhere in the world, there's never peace, right? So I just...
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay, our holiday you're saving.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. This season, enjoy spacious, comfortable rooms and friendly service when you book with Hilton instead. Hilton for the stay.
Okay, Chad, today you're gonna drive the all-electric Toyota BZ.
But my electric vehicle phobia. I'm not ready, Dr. Ross.
I believe in you.
Oh my gosh. We're inside it.
Try to take deep breaths, okay?
The ventilated seats, they're touching me.
You can do this, Chad. Drive the car. How do you feel, Chad?
I feel cured. Woohoo! I'm doing it!
The all-electric BZ. One drive can change your mind. Toyota. Let's go places.
In Walmart's Nouville, time was ticking away. Only a few nights left till the big holiday. But last-minute gifters had no need to worry. Walmart Express Delivery got their gifts in a hurry. From Nintendo to Nespresso and Lego flowers, they could check off their lists in as fast as an hour. All of Nouville, East, West, South, and North, could order gifts up until 5 p.m. on December 24th. So this holiday, just do as the Who's do. With gift delivery this fast, they all gasped. From Walmart, who knew? Subject to availability, terms and fees apply.
Don't see the evidence of that. So I don't put any weight into the idea that it's extraterrestrials. But yeah, spiritual beings, because you know my background, what I believe, especially considering that, the other side is so, involved in deceiving people, definitely misidentification, because that seems to be a pretty common occurrence. I mean, I can't say for 100% fact that all of the UAPs I've seen, which is probably 3 or 4, that they weren't able to be described as something, normal, right? Like a plane with, instead of having a graphic design on the side or like white paint or something like that, or painted, that would be like aluminum and it would be reflecting the light, and all I'd see was a ball of light. And 2 years ago, I would have said, yeah, that's pretty unlikely, but we have a plane that lands on our airfield at least once a month that is a World War II bomber, and the entire thing is chromed out. So if it gets out there in the sky and it's reflecting the sunlight, all you see is a ball of light. There's no discernible shape besides that. I mean, it sounds super cool when it comes in because it's just like this big old like Mustang engine, right? It sounds like a big old motorcycle when it rolls in. But I would, prior to seeing that, I would have been like, yeah, it's very uncommon for aircraft to be chromed out and reflect light like that. Well, turns out they exist, right? Might not be common, but who knows? Was there an air show in the area? There's a lot of explanations. So was I seeing actual UAPs, government drones, or something that was actually common for the time frame I was seeing it? I don't know. Remains to be seen. So misidentification, and then certainly, I mean, just I continually go back to it because it continues to be brought up. The Black Hawk helicopters that were used to take out Osama bin Laden, just like these super stealth helicopters that even Obama, when he was the president, had no idea they existed until he was briefed about the op to go and take out bin Laden. Hey, also, we're going to be flying these helicopters. The pilots were Black Hawk helicopter pilots, had never flown these things. And somehow they were so quiet that they were able to crash one of these things in the courtyard of this compound. And the people didn't even know that it was there until they breached the doors, right? It keeps getting brought up. If you listen to the Sean Ryan show and he has all these, prior SEALs on and stuff like that, it keeps getting brought up. What can you tell me about the Blackhawks that they flew on? Not much, type stuff. It's definitely not a casual helicopter. Did Congress know about those things before? If the president didn't know about them before the op happened, very unlikely. I doubt any of them knew. Just because you have a top secret clearance doesn't mean anything, because you are given top secret information in the realm of what you need to know. Not, oh, you got this clearance, here's everything, right?
Yeah. Well, they have those congressional parties, those little groups that they make up for certain topics that they'll be given the need to know for on certain things. So I'm up to date with the story on the mysterious Blackhawks, but I would argue that there probably was a small committee of congressional people who had the need to know that they existed, because everything military is supposed to have congressional oversight. And that's like one of the big pushbacks for the entire UFO community and trying to get disclosure, is because everything being done by the United States military or government is in response to UFOs, UAP, is lacking congressional oversight.
But I know, but we talked about this ad nauseum. Is the congressional oversight, does that come into effect if it's a private company that owns the vehicles?
No. And there is a huge flaw there. Yes, you're right. We've talked about this a lot. When you talk about contractors, right? I mean, name one, and they probably have some sort of technology that we will never see, ever see. And why do they have it? Because honestly, if the second Cold War or World War III broke out, I still don't think we'd see it, right?
I would say, because why not? It's like, do we need a hydrant, or what's the word? A hadron collider?
Yeah, a large hadron collider? Of course we
do. Must we have that? When it was first turned on, it's like the thought that maybe something cool happens, or maybe a black hole happens that consumes the entire Earth. I don't know. Let's figure it out. I think that's kind of or AI, right? That's getting pretty creepy and advanced and things like that. I mean, it's like, is that necessary to sustain life? No, but why not? It's like the fault of man. It's like,
well,
because we can. So if it can be done, then it will be done. And then you can throw a patent on it and say, oh, no one else can make this.
So the Large Hadron Collider, from a scientific standpoint and from my own personal point of view, I believe is critical. Although what can be done with it can be very reckless. We have created singularities. So for those that are unfamiliar with the term, singularities are black holes. That's basically what a black hole is, just minute. These Large Hadron Colliders have created them. And if you do this incorrectly, right, and this isn't just, whoops, sorry. This is, whoops, well, I just destroyed all of reality here on Earth.
Oops.
Because if you create one that's stable enough, then you have some real fucking problems. But the Large Hadron Collider is very important. Very, very important. We're learning things on the atomic level right now that are absolutely blowing our minds. And look no further than quantum computing. Anything dealing with the quantum realm, right? It's very strange and foreign to all of us, including the top minds in any branch of science, but we're learning a lot about it. You know, I was trying to explain this to my daughter the other day because we had a conversation about quantum physics, and I can't remember how it started, but I know the question that she eventually asked me as we were sitting outside of her job was, what is quantum physics? And I was like, well, it's how physics works at the very, very smallest level known to us. And I said, you know, here in the macro realm, if we throw a baseball into the sky, it'll come down and land. Now, it could move depending on what influences it has: wind, atmospheric pressure, just to name a few. I said, but if we went into a vacuum and we created some sort of mechanism to throw a baseball or any ball that was built exactly the same, down to the atoms, exactly the same, and this mechanism threw that ball at a wall in the exact same location, at the exact same speed, at the exact same strength, over and over and over again at the macro level, we would expect to see the exact same result from that ball over and over again. It would bounce off the wall in the same way, land in the same spot, and we would just see it repeated over and over and over again. That's the basics of science. Test your hypothesis and get repeatable answers. That doesn't happen at the quantum level. So we could take that same ball in the same room at the quantum level, and we could throw that ball, and one time it may hit the wall, bounce back. It may hit the wall and then show up behind you. It may go straight through the wall. It may hit the wall and explode into thousands of perfectly replicated versions of itself. We don't understand how physics works at this realm. It just doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work the same way. That's what the Large Hadron Collider is teaching us, is that we can give the exact same environmental details with the exact same environmental baseball, shoot them around this Large Hadron Collider millions of times until they eventually collide with themselves, and we're going to get different outcomes every single time. Not just, well, the first time is the same as the 250th time. No, it's every single time we're getting different outcomes. And it's not minute. It's not like, oh, well, it's going off at a slightly different angle. No, they're colliding. One is exploding and the other one's just moving on perfectly fine, as if it literally didn't make contact. That's how we found quantum entanglement. That's how we found quantum superposition. I mean, while superposition was the double slit experiment, but we're finding things out at the quantum level that there's even power applied to at least the quantum level just by your own observation. You looking at something and observing it, recording it in some kind of way, is affecting the outcome of things on the quantum level. And we have a lot of science that shows this. So, I know example. Well, okay. This is what I was talking about at the beginning of the episode. This is where my brain goes.
Okay, bad example. Let's say, I'll use a different example. Okay. What was the Russian hydrogen bomb that was created that's like 500 times or like 5,000 times the strength of the ones that we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
It was, hold on, I can bring it up actually.
Yeah.
Because I just mentioned it in a script I was writing. I just got to find the script.
So anyway, point of reference, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the exact death toll was or blast radius of the 2 nukes we dropped in Japan in World War II, but did humanity, we as in humanity, was it absolutely necessary to invent a bomb that was 5,000 times that? I'm going to throw out there and say probably not. Unless we're going to start fighting like, Titans and stuff. I'm going to say probably not. But why was it made? Because why not? Military superiority, Sure, I guess. The scare factor? Yeah, sure, I guess. Just because it could? I mean, so it's like, again, going back to my original statement, if I take that theory or that reasoning I just kind of threw out there, to what gain or what end are these vehicles being made? No idea. Do I believe they're being made? Yes. I don't think that there's like a solid cap on what we can or cannot do, with the exception of creating something out of nothing, like life.
That's not what I wanted. Trying to share this other screen. Oh, there we go.
You know what I'm saying, Ka?
Right? Is it the Tsar Bomba?
That sounds right.
Yeah. That's it. The Tsar Bomba. Way stronger. Anyways. Let's I got 2 more questions just specifically for you from this.
What were the other 2 of the 4?
And
Number 3 and number 4.
Yeah, but I still have 2 whole sections to go over. So all right. 3 is this congressional pressure a sign that the political will for disclosure is finally outrunning the military's desire for secrecy?
I guess.
4, does this indicate an escalating pattern of intrusion that has finally become too frequent to ignore?
I'm going to say no to that one, because it definitely seems like it used to be a lot more prevalent than it is now. Now it's just the public knows about it, by and large.
I actually agree with you.
Because it used to be like, especially around the World War II time frame, it was very prevalent. Now it's like most people wouldn't have an experience unless they saw it on the internet.
Yes and no. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now, but just for the sake of time. But 2 questions for you. Well, 1, and then depending on what your answer is. Do you, just coming out of sheer ignorance right now, and a question off the fly, were there things in the sky mentioned in the Bible?
I don't know.
You can't think of anything?
No.
Just, again, sheer ignorance here. Ezekiel's wheel.
Still don't know. I've heard people say that, but it hasn't caused me to be like, I'm going to find out about this.
Anyways, my follow-up question was, if you had said yes, my follow-up question is, do you think that we're seeing some of the same things that were discussed in the Bible?
Well, okay. So let's say that I did say yes. And then my response to that would be, throughout all of human history, there have been, according to my beliefs, there have been interactions with both angelic and demonic beings. People describing angelic beings to be horrifying. The Bible describes them to be horrifying, right? 6 wings, 4 faces, wings covered in eyes, all kinds of crazy stuff. And then the angels are coming down saying, be not afraid. Well, I doubt they were saying that because they look like people, right? I think it was probably terrifying. And then they're like, hey, calm down. Don't be afraid. I have a message from God. And they're like, okay, so there's that. And then on the other side of that, there's demonic beings who, if I am to take the, what the Bible says, of a third of heaven's angels were cast down from heaven from the rebellion, perpetuated by Lucifer, all of those same looking angels are now in the demon category.
Mm-hmm.
So where you have one side that look horrifying and they're saying, be not afraid. You have the other side that look horrifying and they're like, oh, you should be afraid, right? And so if there was that prevalence in the Bible times, let's say between 2000 and, I don't know, 6,000, 8,000 years ago, well, spiritual beings don't die. They don't have to eat. They don't have to take a dump. They don't breathe. They're infinite as far as we're concerned. So would the same exact beings be around then and still around today? Yeah, most assuredly. So yeah, I mean, if Ezekiel's wheel is pointing to, what some people would say a UAP, and what he would say is a angelic or demonic being, depending on what the context was. That I'm not going to paraphrase because I don't know. But would that same being still be in existence here today? Yeah.
Right now.
Right. And would that same being be able to present itself to people? Yeah.
Now, if you ever come across that stuff, I'd love to dive more into that.
Now, I don't think that angels act upon their own free will and just do stuff willy-nilly. They are known as the messengers of God. So I'm pretty sure that there's a hierarchy, right? God assigns an angel, hey, I need a message delivered to this person, a very important message because it's coming from God. And you would see that with prophetic messages in the Bible. It wouldn't just be an angel being like, I'm going to stroll down, Broadway and go get a corn dog. It just doesn't happen. They're performing tasks and roles and things like that. I think that where you find that would be like whatever I feel like doing at this moment because I'm living in rebellion would be in a demonic sort of a sense. Would be you can't control me. I'm going to do what I want sort of a thing. If I feel like possessing someone today, then I'm going to do that, So I believe that most of what you're seeing in the sky is physical crafts. And then the other side of that is maybe 10 to 25% of it would probably be a demonic influenced being trying to deceive people for what gain besides just obvious deception. I don't know.
All right. Sorry, man. I'm going to cut you off.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I have it written down because I want to revisit that in another episode. I think that would be
look up Ezekiel's wheel right now.
Well, hold on. No. Do that later so that we can talk about it on another episode.
It's too late.
Welcome, Spectrum. Welcome to the show, buddy. All right. Next, we shift from modern politics to a fascinating piece of historical analysis, giving statistical weight to a classic Fortean theory, the link between UAPs and nuclear weapons. Yeah, we segued pretty good into this. A new study titled Transients in the Palomar Observatory Sky Survey may be associated with nuclear testing, and reports of unidentified anomalous phenomena was published in the journal Scientific Reports on October 20th, 2025. The researchers analyzed over 100,000 photographic plates taken by the Palomar Observatory between 1949 and 1957, a period that predates the space age. They focused on transient flashes of light on these plates.
Here's my 30-second story with Guinness. As soon as my sister and I get home for the holidays, we don't even unpack. We head straight to our pub. The bartender already knows our order, Guinness and fries. We laugh all night, catch up with old friends, and walk home with faces sore from smiling. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. That was my 30-second story with Guinness.
Guinness Draft Stout. Please enjoy responsibly. Imported by Diageo Beer Company, USA, New York, New York.
Hace 9 años que el snack wrap se fue. Así sin explicación, sin despedida. Y tú no lo superaste. Hiciste posts, tweets, hasta abriste grupos en las redes sociales. Y te enfocaste en lograr tu meta, que regresara. Y hoy, después de años de pedirlo, volvió el snack wrap. Ordénalo en Ranch o Spicy. Encuentra tu snack wrap en tu McDonald's favorito. Para pa pa pa.
Abercrombie Kids is bringing the cheer all holiday season and the gifts too. No matter how long their wish list is, there's always room for just one more. Whether it's a new winter coat, an extra pair of jeans, or cozy matching sweat sets, get gifting with looks they've been waiting for all year. Shop Abercrombie Kids in the app, online, and in stores.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
And cross-referenced their dates with 2 other datasets. The dates of U.S. and Soviet nuclear weapons tests and the historical UFO cat database of public UAP sightings. The findings are compelling. They found that transients were 45% more likely to appear on dates within 1 day of a nuclear test. That link became even stronger, showing that these mysterious flashes were observed 68% more frequently on the day after a nuclear detonation. Furthermore, the data showed a direct statistical correlation with the public. For every additional UAP reported in the public records, there was an 8.5% increase in the number of transients identified on the photographic plates. This correlation is considered statistically robust. It suggests that whatever was causing these anomalies in the 1950s was demonstrably linked to the rise of the atomic age. Now, I even included a neat link in here so you guys can kind of see what these plates are. Here we go. Okay, so this is from Scientific Reports from nature.com. The article was published on October 20th, and it's titled Transients in the Palomar Observatory Sky Survey May be Associated with Nuclear Testing and Reports of Unidentified Anomalous Phenomenon. And for those of you who don't know, how we used to take pictures of the sky is on these plates. So these were from the same day, 19 July 1952. 19 July 1952. You see where there are pictures, or where there are lights in these pictures. This one matches this one. This one matches this one. But then you have this one that seemed to have moved from here slightly higher. If not, that's the same one. But this cluster right here is completely gone. And you see a bit of a difference here too. And this is less than an hour difference. Skeeter said it's Skylink from 1952. I love it. And then you see the same star cluster 2 months later in September. Here's those four that we were just pointing at right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And yet these match this fairly well, except for some are a little bit brighter, right? So ignore the ones that are just slightly brighter, depending on how clear it was that night. But all three of these match up pretty well. This one, however, covers what I was talking about as transients. This is what we're discovering, that these transients were showing up over sites of nuclear testing during Cold War era. Total transients per data log and total independent UAP reports per date. So I highly recommend, if anybody wants to, I could put this into the chat if there's any request for it. But this is a really fascinating, absolutely fascinating article that dives really deep into a lot of these plates, the correlation with UAP and nuclear testing dates. But this organization, this Palomar Observatory, put a lot of time and effort, years of time and effort, into comparing plates from before. This is key. A period of time that predates the space age. So there's no satellites, there's no space station, none of it. This is before we got to space. 49, 57. What are your initial thoughts before I get into the questions on this one, Jake?
My initial thoughts are long.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You want to hear the questions? All right. So you'll notice on the last question, there was a reason why I got excited when you talked about the Large Hadron Collider, because we talked about the observer effect, which, anyways, you'll see that in question 4. But question 1, is a statistical correlation enough to prove intelligent involvement, or are we just detecting an unknown physical side effect of atomic explosions? Now, before you answer that question, which we'll just do this one at a time right now because of how the last one went. In my script here, and from this article, pay attention, they found that transients, meaning that lights or objects that showed up in one plate compared to the others, were 45% more likely to appear on dates within 1 day of a nuclear test. They don't say before or after at this point. Okay? That link became even stronger, showing that these mysterious flashes were absorbed 68% more frequently. So from that 45%, 65% more frequently on the day after a detonation. That means 32% of them showed up the day prior. So out of their abundance, their 100,000 examples of these photographic plates, 45% of that, 45,000 of those plates appear on where they find an anomaly, appear on a date within 1 day of a nuclear test. 40 of 100,000. Then out of those 45,000, 68% of it is after, but the other 32% is before the nuclear detonation. I don't know. I think that shit's fascinating.
You said it was more likely. Was there observed, what's the word you use, transients on days when there was no nuclear testing? It just happened?
Yep. There was, so 65% of it happened on dates that were not within 24 hours of a nuclear test.
So then the ones before the detonation could be just coincidence.
They could. Is 32% a reasonable answer for that? So basically your pathway here is that the 68%, or at least a good chunk of that, was definitely in response to witnessing a bunch of boom booms going off. But the ones that happened prior were just coincident.
Or it could be checking up to see what's going on. What's the status? You know, is the project going to happen today? Is the launch going to happen today, or is it going to happen tomorrow? What's going on?
So
here?
this is cool. I like where you're going with this, because this was kind of where I was going to with it too, and why I referenced John Keel's research about the correlation between political borders and the day of the week and the frequency of UAP sightings from his book Trojan Horse. I think that this is really important because this shows that there's intelligence, like the knowledge that there is something occurring. Okay, whether that knowledge is military intelligence, right? Where, hey, we have information saying that the Soviets are going to shoot off this bomb. We should probably go watch this. Or is it an unknown entity that knows that this is occurring somehow prior to it happening? Because depending on which one of those is true, they're both very interesting answers.
I mean, I guess it could be either or.
This is why I brought this up today, is because I think that this one out of the three subjects that we talk about tonight is the golden subject. This is absolutely astounding to me. I mean, I've read things about about these plates and the comparisons. Like Jacques Vallée famously talked about plates and how there was these non-parallel anomalies on them. Now we're seeing a modern research effort put towards this concept, and it's crazy, man. It is, and it's a lot of the same shit that we see from the history of ufology, and that is that when you look back and you read stuff from people that were quote unquote kooks or crazies, like a lot of people call John Keel, you see a lot of this stuff coming back around right now and being proven to be real or claimed to be real by the scientific community. I don't know, man. I think it's interesting. Want to hear question 2? What process takes 24 hours to manifest after a nuclear explosion that would create an object visible in the sky? So this question is basically, are the nuclear explosions or atomic explosions causing the difference in the plates?
I don't know how to phrase this. The smoke or off-gassing of atoms from a nuclear test. Think of like if you have a big bonfire and you watch the smoke go into the sky, and then eventually it appears to disappear. Well, those carbon atoms are going somewhere, right? They're not just disappearing, they're going somewhere. Well, in the same way, if you have a nuclear test, where does all of that go, and how does that affect the atmosphere?
Does it get trapped in the atmosphere, right?
Right.
These are all good questions, because the next kind of natural path question to come from this exact thing that you're talking about is, how are they taking these pictures on the plates? Is it sensitive to things that we can't see? Is there ultraviolets in there, infrareds in there that we can't see that is showing up on these plates? So
Spectral Assassin says some weird byproduct like aurora borealis in the atmosphere.
And that could be, it could be that the literal radiation caused by the atomic bomb testing could be causing an anomaly. But that only answers the question post explosion. It doesn't answer the question before. Skeeter's got to go.
See you, Skeeter.
Have a good one, Skeeter. Hope you enjoy the new format, man.
Well, then prior to, I would... 32%, excuse me. 32% isn't... If it was higher, if it was like 80% likely to occur the day before, right? That would be pretty high. That'd be hard to argue coincidence. 32% is kind of...
It's on the line. It's large enough to be like, it is kind of strange, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's not enough to be concrete. And I agree with that.
But also, where all of the... Because I saw those two graphics that you showed, right? Or those 4 graphics that you showed, right?
Mm-hmm.
It appeared that the anomalies were in the same place. And I'm curious as to if they're in the same place every single time.
No. So these anomalies were taken on plates from all around the world in different areas of the sky.
Like if you took a chunk of sky and you're like, okay, well, here's the anomalies right here. Here's this group right here. You can see within an hour. And then a year later or a month later or whatever it was, every time we did a testing, same section of sky, did the anomalies show up in the same spot of the same section of sky?
No. They were
okay.
They traveled very well. Either they traveled very well or they were completely different anomalies. And the formations of them were very different. A lot of times it was just one that was a clear anomaly, not just a brighter star. And sometimes it was groups of 2, 3, 4. I think that they said one plate showed an anomaly count of almost 130. And they were not
right?
Transients, yeah.
That's the word that's being used, transient.
And they use the word transient because they move.
Right.
It's
in the same way the old way you'd talk about a person that moves from town to town as a transient.
Right. Exactly. All right. Okay. Question 3.
Yep.
If these were orbiting objects or metal reflectors, if you will, where did they come from? Did the phenomenon only become visible or active once humanity developed nuclear weapons? So basically this question is a 2-layer question, right? The first one is, are these just objects in the sky? Are these natural satellites, right? News came out a little while ago that we have a second moon for like 50 years and then it's supposed to go away. Yeah. So could it just be just a random object orbiting our planet, not necessarily a man-made satellite, but a natural satellite, a rock, piece of space debris that's up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is a good question. It is, I believe, a good question. But in the case that it is not, because we don't really have plates from before this time frame, and then after this time frame, technology advanced so far that we started taking pictures. Mm-hmm. Right? So this is kind of a strange part in history where we had the technology to take these primitive photos of space to see these transients, but
are they just a naturally occurring thing that we don't have evidence for before we started doing that?
Correct. Right? Or did they appear because of the nuclear testing, which again pushes the questioning back into the UAP UFO realm?
We'll say that they were physical objects like rocks or whatever, and they only became visible because of what the nuclear tests were doing to the atmosphere.
See, but we don't have
that's like the Stromdinger's cat or whatever the guy's name is. It's like
Schrodinger.
Schrodinger cat. Think of it like this: did the other galaxies in the universe show up because we were able to invent telescopes that could see that far out, or did they always exist before the telescopes were invented?
This is a quantum question too.
If you asked primitive man, they would be like, I didn't know that was a thing. Right? Those just appeared. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move into question 4, because I think this is a good segue. Does this show the observer effect in action, or simply that the phenomenon becomes globally visible at these key historical moments? Now, I put a little sidebar here to help explain what the observer effect is. The observer effect is the principle that the mere act of measuring or observing a phenomenon necessarily changes the phenomenon itself. It is most famous in quantum mechanics, where the act of measurement forces a particle, like an electron, to collapse from a blurry state of possibilities, a wave function, into a single definite reality or particle. The observation dictates the outcome. We borrow this concept to ask a deep philosophical question about UAPs. Does the UAP phenomenon react to being observed?
I would say yes. I mean, it's known now because of quantum physics and all this study that, as you just said, electrons can change depending on whether they're being observed or not observed, which is really weird. You know, it's like super weird stuff. Does that mean they're sentient? I don't, but I mean, there has to be a point to their visibility, Let's say it's as vanilla as letting us know that there's something else out there. And it's as horrible as at any point the thought that could drive you insane, they could just come down here and start wiping us off the face of the earth, like War of the Worlds in their tripods, right? So it's like from one side to the other side, but they're allowing themselves to be observed for some reason. Let's say if it's not, I'm framing this as if it's not like a military vehicle, right? But even then, why would a black budget program, or why would Northrop Grumman allow their top secret vehicle to be witnessed by people and documented and stuff? Really doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense, unless there is some reasoning behind that observation in whichever way you go with it. And what's the reason? I don't know.
The questions.
It's a good question.
It is a good question.
But the answer to that is much more complex because it requires the knowledge of why.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I know, I'm sure there's very few people on the face of the earth that could tell you the why to that question.
So I feel like the conversation that we're having now makes the first topic that we talked about, more important. I feel like I do because I definitely do believe that there is stuff known, there's critical information known about this phenomenon, because I agree with you. I don't think that everything we're seeing is from the same source. I don't think we're seeing the same thing over and over and over again. I believe that there are multiple, and not just 2 or 3 sources for this. And I also
Don't chew on that, Max.
Cooper loves that chew too.
Oh, now he's into Cooper's food. Wow, he is loving it. What do you feed Cooper?
Blue Buffalo Life Protection Formula. He never leaves a crumb. I love it because it's made with high-quality protein, nutrient-rich fruits and veggies, and wholesome whole grains.
Looks like we're switching to Blue.
Blue Buffalo foods are made with the superior ingredients your dog needs to thrive. Can your dog food say that? Visit feedbluefood.com to learn more.
This is Jason Momoa. I'll be your finance professor today. Welcome to Banking Smarter 101 with Chime. Bam! First lesson, sign up for Chime and set up direct deposit. You'll be joining millions of members banking fee-free. Second lesson, get cash back on eligible purchases while building credit and a higher APY on your savings. That's how you bank smarter this season. Fa-la-la-la-la, class dismissed. Join Chime today.
Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services and a secure Chime Visa credit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Optional services and products may have fees or charges. Details at chime.com/feesinfo. With a qualifying direct deposit, earn 1.5% cash back on eligible secure Chime Visa credit card purchases. On-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Results may vary. APY means annual percentage yield. Learn about credit building and more at chime.com.
This episode is brought to you by... Oops! I've got a box of Cheez-It crackers staring at me, and I just wanted that irresistible cheesy crunch. Sorry, that was a total snacksident. What was I supposed to be talking about? So salty, so crunchy, so cheesy. Whoops! Lost my train of thought. I've heard of brain freeze, but brain cheese? I'll just have one more Cheez-It cracker, and then I'll get back to it.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. So Netflix is basically Santa this year. 2 NFL games on Christmas Day, streaming live. At 1 p.m. Eastern, it's Cowboys, Commanders. Then at 4:30, you've got Lions, Vikings. Midwest football, playoff stakes, and probably some snow. Watching holiday football is a tradition the whole family can enjoy. Open some gifts, grab some food, settle in, and watch NFL Live on Netflix this Christmas Day.
I believe that a lot of them aren't even intertangled with each other. I believe that, they may be aware of the other's, existence, but I think that there's so much shit going on that we don't understand in our skies. But I do believe that the government or the U.S. military does have more of a grasp on this than we do as civilians.
Sure, of course.
And I think that it is important for congressional oversight to be applied to these anomalous programs from the DoD. I want to see this. I want this. But you and I both know very well, being military or ex-military, that they are very good at finding loopholes and adjusting how they attack certain situations. So making it so that it's legally required to brief Congress on everything UAP doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen. So
think of it this way. I want to give someone an example, and I can say this because I'm not active duty anymore. Okay, so everyone knows that when oil or gas or some sort of hazmat is spilled into the ocean, it's a huge problem, right? The U.S. Navy, we can't throw, say, like plastic bottles over the side of the ship. They have to get taken to shore or on the boat, and they get compacted into these big flat discs, and they get stacked up. And when we go to shore, they take them and they throw them, into a recycling center, right? Aluminum cans can get thrown overboard because the salinity of the water will break them down relatively quickly. Food waste can get thrown over. No oil or hydraulic fluid or petroleum products of any kind can be dumped into the ocean. However, if a plane takes off at max capacity and has to land back on the carrier, they are allowed to dump as much fuel as they can or as they need to into the water. And that might mean a fully loaded Hawkeye with, say, like 20,000 pounds of fuel on it taking off, doing a circle and a pattern around the ship once, dumping 75% of its fuel into the water, and then landing back on the boat, getting refueled, and doing it again and again and again every single day, day in, day out for 9 months straight while that boat's out.
Yep. That's a loophole.
The legal loophole. No, we're not needlessly dumping petroleum into the ocean. However, we don't want our plane to crash into the deck and kill everybody on board. So we're going to do it anyway.
And for those of you that think that this may be a joke, the literal system is called fuel dump. Google it.
So I'm just saying, I'll put this in this is me putting that thought in a much simpler perspective, but it happens every single day. I guarantee you it happens every single day. Now, the legal loophole might be, it's international waters.
Yep.
Or it's not
contractors.
Or we're not, it's not like the BP oil spill or whatever it is. But there still is there has to be some impact on the environment. And yet they're going to continue to do it.
Yeah. They'll have one civilian on the boat that throws garbage overboard. And it's like, well, we didn't do it. As the U.S. Navy, it was the cook.
But I mean, I'm just saying, so
it was Dave.
If they were to be legally held on trial, whoever, say who's our current SecDef? What's
Hegseth?
There you go. If he was held on trial about the U.S. Navy's, environmental protection in disposing of hazardous materials, technically speaking, yes, we have used oil drums. We have all these sorts of things that get changed out every single time we go into port. Then you get changed out, right? And the oil gets disposed of the way it's supposed to be and broken down and recycled and blah, blah, all this sort of stuff. We're not throwing plastic overboard. We're only throwing things overboard that can either be completely broken down by natural processes relatively quickly, like metal, or food waste that gets eaten up by all the fish and stuff. I mean, they dump it and then you watch all the fish and sea life come up and just start eating it. And that happens with our sewage too. So keep that in mind next time you're offshore fishing.
Mm-hmm. Yum.
Oh, it's like feeding fish in a fish tank. They just come swarming the cloud. It's disgusting.
Yes.
And I'm sure that they would never bring that up. They would never bring up that, my own wife saying, yeah, I literally watched them max out a plane. It took off and they were like, oh, never mind. We don't need that plane to be up right now. And it dumped nearly all but 10% of its fuel just so it could land and take off and land again if it needed to.
So
if it missed the wire.
Fun fact, the E2 needs a certain amount of weight in order to take off, but it dumps a ton of weight as soon as it's over the ocean so that it has max efficiency. So the heavier it is due to all the fuel, the more fuel it uses because it's got to push harder. So they dump a ton of the fuel, and actually keeping less fuel in the tank makes it last longer. It's strange, but that's what they do. They fill it up so that they can be at the weight they need in order for the flaps at 20 to be able to get that thing off the ground, right? Bernoulli's principle at it. And then when they're in the air, in order to fly most efficiently, they dump a ton of it. And I know it sounds stupid, but it's actually, it works.
So take that principle and then bring it into something way more heavy of a topic, like defense against anything that could come from off planet to attack the United States or the world, right? And then try to find all the loopholes that the U.S. military, U.S. government, the feds would be able to jump through to keep from revealing its secrets to the general populace, who there's no way that would not become, there's no conceivable way that a release of that information could possibly remain a secret. It's not like everyone in the United States can be like, okay, shh, we're not going to tell our enemies. It's just like, it's never going to happen. The full disclosure, they might give us I mean, I could see them giving us everything with the exception of like the propulsion system or the weapon systems.
I can't see them giving a lot of things.
They could be like, oh, it's made out of nanocarbon titanium bond thing. You know,
we're gonna get something even like we're gonna get some stupid.
It's made out of metal.
Answer. They're gonna be like, you know, the skin on an acorn. That's it.
That's it. And hey, I mean, for most of the people asking, they'll be like, well, thanks for letting us know. Appreciate it. It's like,
And then all the podcasts are going to be like, did you hear UFOs are made out of acorns? Did you hear?
Yeah, turns out that John Carver didn't say that peanuts could only be made into particle board. They could also be turned into spaceship hulls.
Multi-domain vehicles.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Section 3. You ready? This one's a little bit lighter. Finally, let's take a look at what is happening in the sky right now. Today, Sunday, December 14th. We are in the midst of the spectacular Geminid meteor shower, which peaked overnight, delivering up to 150 meteors per hour. Thousands of people have been actively scanning the sky. This naturally leads us to a surge in sightings. However, recent reports across the Fortean community are describing classic glowing orbs that defy the predictable physics of a meteor which streaks and vanishes. Witnesses describe objects that, 1, sustain a fixed position in the sky for minutes, often near constellations like Orion. 2, exhibit non-linear movements, erratic jolts, stops, or changes in brightness that rule out aircraft or lanterns. The orb is the simplest yet most stubbornly unexplained Fortean phenomenon. Are these reports simply misidentified meteors, or are truly anomalous objects taking advantage of the high number of sky watchers during this celestial event? The continued flow of these simple, high strangeness reports provides a crucial counterpoint to the high-tech classified UAP data coming from Washington. The contrast between the predictable physics of the Geminids and the erratic non-celestial orb reports provides the perfect amount for us to ask, are these misidentified space debris, or is this the pure, stubborn, high strangeness phenomenon that official government reports struggle to categorize? So, just like I did with the other ones, I have a little bit of show and tell to show you guys. This is actually really interesting. This is, if you've never looked at the NUFORC website, NUFORC, NUFORC, and you are interested in UFO sightings, you should be looking at this kind of stuff. So, this, Jacob, is NUFORC. Say hello, NUFORC. Hello.
I thought that was a new pronunciation for Norfolk.
Well, so I have it currently on the latest investigations page. Here is where I found all the evidence for these orb reports. Now, the screen that we're currently on isn't necessarily for the orb reports. There's ways to filter this down. So like if you go into the data bank here, data bank tab at the top of the screen, you come down here and you go to tier 1 reports. The last page that we were on had like 48 reports. This one here has 1,576 entries. Now, the cool thing about this, right? And we're going a little off topic from the orbs right now, just because I'm excited to show you guys this, is that over here you can click on where it says open. So this one happened on December 1st, Jamestown, New York, and 2 pilots observed 3 aircraft. You can click on this, and it'll give you as much information, right? So we had 2 military pilots airborne over southern Ontario, and it'll give you a description of of their sighting. Now, there are a lot of these in here, which come with pictures or hand-drawn, descriptions of what they saw. Look at that.
You need to check out the Enigma app.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah. This is one of those triangles. In fact, when you if you go back and listen to the episode that we talked about lights on UFOs, this is a perfect example of exactly what I was talking about. Perfectly well spaced out lights. This is difficult to determine whether or not that's AI. I know that's a lot of the things, or the assumption that people are jumping to right now is that a lot of this is AI, but you have things like this, or reports like this, where people tell you of a whole list of things that they saw, and then you have hand-drawn pictures. Jake, I want to show you that you can filter this down by state. If you go reverse and you go to Wisconsin, guess where there was a sighting. Look at this. Walking home, 11:30 to 12. Sat on bench halfway home and noticed triangle of lights in the sky. Could see the outline of the object. And
I can't see that because it's kind of blurry, but I'm going to assume it says Menominee.
It does. It does. Yep. Menominee, Wisconsin. Yep. This was occurred April 24. A little over a year and a half ago. So this is one source that I used for confirming that there were reports coming out of orbs during this meteor shower.
What's the site name? Sorry.
This is Nuforc, NUFORC.org.
Thank you.
Yep. And at the top, if you click Databank, will be your best. Will give you pretty much exactly where we were. Here, actually, I'll share the screen one more time, because there is a cool feature in this. When you click on the map tab, it gives you a picture of the world, and you can see where all of the sightings are. These little red dots. See them all?
Goodness.
So green means recent. Green dots are on the recent list. So this database is huge. And right here, where this nice big glow up is, that's Menominee, Wisconsin. No, it's Minneapolis, but still, it's pretty dang close, right? So where we're at is like right here. I don't know. There's Eau Claire.
Yeah,
there's Menominee.
Yep.
Look, there's a couple of them right there. In fact, that red dot might actually be Elmwood. No, Ellsworth is down here. Where's Plum City? Now we're just playing. Oh, Elmwood's right here. So if you guys have not ever messed around with this website, I highly recommend it. I pulled a ton of things off of this for my book. It's a phenomenal site. So by all means, please check that out.
I'm going to dig into Norfolk, Virginia.
Man, it's probably crazy. But
beach.
So I do have a few. I'm just going to run through the 4 questions on this really quick, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
So that we can get this knocked out. And then I will let you play with Norfolk the rest of the night. So why are so many, this is number 1, why are so many highly motivated viewers reporting objects that are stationary, pulsing, or moving erratically? 2, how do you differentiate an intelligent non-human orb from a commercially available high-powered drone using only a cell phone video? 3, are witnesses naturally looking at the most prominent constellations, or is the phenomenon positioning itself against a clear celestial backdrop to be observed? 4, does the truth of the phenomenon lie in the official declassified reports or in the fresh, spontaneous reports submitted tonight to databases such as Nuforc? So basically a rundown on those questions is pretty much the same theme we've been following all night. Is it that these orbs, one, are they even orbs? Are people reporting the right thing? Now, I have seen some videos and some pictures on New Fork that do seem like they're not meteors. Okay, there's some really good footage on there. There's videos and everything on that website. But a lot of them are probably most likely just misidentification. A really good portion of them are misidentification. But the ones that people are seeing, they're reporting to be next to constellations. Now, if you've ever gone out and looked at a meteor shower, it's not the most exciting thing, right? There could be 180 to 300 meteors that go off in the night, but it's not going to be directly over your head all the time. And if they're not at the right angle, a lot of times you'll never see it. If they're not low enough in the atmosphere to cause that burn up to create the famous tail, you're not going to see it. So a lot of times you're stuck doing constellation watches, which means that you're sitting out there and you're looking at Orion's belt and Ursa Minor, Ursa Major, blah, 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 right? You're trying to make fun of the time that you're spending out there. So I think it's more or less that people are seeing objects because they're looking at constellations and they just happen to be next to the constellation because that's where they're looking. This was more or less my own argument for this point because I am seeing a lot of videos pop up on X, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere of people reporting UFOs during this meteor shower. But to the untrained eye, it could very well look like an orb. But realistically, there's only been a handful of them that I've seen that really do look like something. A lot of people, when these meteor showers go by, you can tell how many people have never seen a satellite move in the sky. I mean, they're up there, man, and they move. And it's weird when you first see one, you're gonna look at it and be like, "What the fuck is that?"
First time I saw Starlink, it blew my mind. I had no idea what I was looking at.
And we still get reports of Starlink every day.
Yeah,
I get emailed pictures of Starlink, and people are saying, "Dude, you got to see this. Look at this. Look what just showed up in the horizon in Kansas." And it's like, yeah, man. I stopped responding to them because I just feel bad for people. But people are like, yeah, my kids saw it. I saw it. My wife saw it. My father saw it. He said he's never seen anything in his life like that before. Well, yeah, probably not. Because Starlink didn't exist.
It's pretty new, yeah.
So, it's an exciting time, right? A lot of people, when you see the meteor shower show up in media, news channels, and people get excited, they want to go out and see it. The reason why you're looking up there and you're seeing things that you don't recognize is because you're going outside and looking up. And a lot of people don't do that. So there are some strange things in the sky, but not everything that moves is a UFO, is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Jake, did you want to go over this screen share that you have, or did you just forget it was there?
This isn't mine. This is yours.
Is it mine?
Yeah. Silly boy.
Oops, dumbass. What an idiot.
Yeah, idiot.
All right. Well, that has been another episode. Wait, Jake, do you have anything? Cool. All right. Well, that's been another episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the new format. This is just a way for me to share what my interest is for the week on weeks that we don't have a guest. That way you're just not hearing us come into the conversation being like, I don't know what to talk about. And then we just eventually start talking about something 45 minutes into the episode, which is a common complaint. And I get it. I understand you're coming here to listen to things. And then, for the first 45 minutes, we're just like, I don't know what to talk about. And then eventually somebody talks about something and then that sparks the conversation. So this is a way for me to fix that. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope we'll see you next week. Until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the infinite rabbit hole. Bye, everybody. Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. If you're looking for more of our stuff, head on over to infiniterabbithole.com, where you can find links to all the podcast players that we are available on, and even our video platforms such as TikTok and YouTube. While you're there, make sure to check out all the links for our socials and hit that follow so you know when all the new stuff from our podcast comes out. And until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye.
Two kinds of fishing out here. One for fish, one for your data. Hackers try to hook you, but Cisco Duo keeps every user and device protected. Cisco Duo. Fishing season is over. Learn more at duo.com.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. One of the perks about having 4 kids that you know about is actually getting a direct line to the big man up north. Mm-hmm. And this year, he wants you to know the best gift that you can give someone is the gift of Mint Mobile's unlimited wireless for $15 a month. Now, you don't even need to wrap it. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.